Good morning, students. Welcome to ALPHORES e-learning classes. Today we are going to discuss about the same yesterday's class continuation. So welcome to economics first year, unit 8 or chapter 8. The lesson name is theories of employment and public finance. Yesterday I explained you what is this, what is meant by employment and what is meant by public finance. And particularly till yesterday we were discussing about classical theory of employment. Classical theory of employment. I told you, let us go with the recap. Yesterday we are discussing pre-Keynesian period, Keynesian period and post-Keynesian period. That we will see as classical economics period, neoclassical economics period and modern period. These classical economists, they have three theories. Yesterday we had a discussion about assumptions too. Those assumptions again we are going to discuss today as major aspects and as limitations. But now we will see first under the classical theory of employment, J.B. Say, John Baptist Say, the follower of Adam Smith. In the first chapter we did discuss in the definitions. Adam Smith had some of the followers. Out of them, J.B. Say and J.S. Mills are the very important persons. J.B. Say had his own theory of employment. He is a classical economist. He got his own theory of employment. According to him, all four factors, till they all are got employed, you can go on expanding the market. You can expand the production. So, whatever the additional product is produced, that will create its own demand. Supply creates its own demand. In 5 marks, it is an important question. Remember that. In last 5 years, at least 2-3 times, we have seen this question answer. Supply creates its own demand. Yesterday I explained you how supply creates its own demand. As the supply increases, automatically 4 factors will employed. Those 4 factors additionally whatever they earn, they will spend that on purchasing of additional commodities. Then supply creates its own demand. That is the point of view of classical economist J.B. Say. He explained that under goods market equilibrium. So according to him, in general there is no unemployment, there is no overproduction. These are all the assumptions on which this classical theory stands. Yesterday we wanted to complete even money market equilibrium, but today we are going to complete this money market equilibrium. Savings equals to investment. So according to this particular money market equilibrium, classical economists started thinking that money market will be balanced with interest rate. What it is? Interest rate. Here we were discussing about money. If you remember, money is part of wealth. It is a stock concept. So from that stock, money comes out as capital, and that capital increases the production. That increased production creates the revenue. That increased revenue increases the wealth. So income and money are flow concepts, whereas wealth is a stock concept. From that stock concept, wealth concept, we remove some of the capital and we invest. So here, according to this money market equilibrium, always all the savings will turn to investment. When all the savings are turning to investment and total income, whatever the 4 factors income, that either consumed means spent on the commodities to purchase, or it will be saved. The money whichever is being saved, that turns to what? Investment. Means whatever the 4 factors income, directly or indirectly entering into the money market equilibrium. So when it enters into the money market, automatically there will be a balance, equilibrium, that we are going to discuss today. according to classical economists, what they say, interest rate and wage rate are flexible. If you see yesterday's assumptions, you do remember wage rate as well as interest rate are flexible. Okay, at the end of the class we will discuss again about these things, about the wage as well as interest, but now we will discuss only about interest. So interest rate is flexible. What happens when interest rate increases? Automatically savings increases. When savings increases, investments increases. But there is a little bit lacuna or paradox. Whenever interest rate increases, savings increases, but investors gets afraid to take the loans because interest rate is high. So interest and investments have a inverse relation, and interest and savings have a positive relation. Again, let me repeat it again. Interest and investment have an inverse relation like demand and price, and interest and savings have a positive relation like price and supply. Okay, now here we will see what happens. According to classical economists, investments and savings will become equal at they get to an equilibrium at a favorable interest rate. Investment and savings gets an equilibrium at a favorable interest rate, which is in the market for a longer period. In case interest rate increases to, let us say, I2, so immediately you can see investment decreases from here to here. Investment decreases, but savings increases. See, from here to here. Savings increased, investment decreased. So, additional saving amount put pressure on increased interest, and interest will go back to the favorable condition and gets the equilibrium. Here you can see the gap. Investment is less, savings are more. In case interest rate decreases to I1, then automatically you can see here, when interest rate decreases, producers are more interested to invest. So automatically you see here, investment increased. Investors are interested to invest because interest rate decreased. So investment increases. But when the interest rate is less, savings automatically decreases. From here to here it decreases. Savings decrease, investment increase. So this additional investment which people ready to take as loan, that will put pressure on the interest and it goes back to the equilibrium. In both the conditions, whether interest rate increases or interest rate decreases, either excessive savings or excessive investment force back the interest rate to the favorable condition. On those favorable conditions of interest, savings and investment becomes equal. That position is called as equilibrium. This is the belief of classical economists. There are plenty of classical economists like David Ricardo, Alfred Marshall, Adam Smith, J.B. Say, J.S. Mill. There are plenty of people. According to them, it is always investment and savings will be at equilibrium at a favorable interest rate. Even interest rate increases or decreases, due to the changes in savings and investment, it comes back to the equilibrium. This is the belief of classical economists. So automatically employment is going to be generated. Here it says there is no glutton, there is no overproduction. Always whatever the additional supply comes, it is going to be equalized by additional demand. These are the beliefs of classical economists. Now we will see the third one. So we have seen money market equilibrium. This money market equilibrium is depending on flexible interest rates. Interest rates can change. Interest rates are flexible. In the same way, like wage rate. Wage rate also flexible according to the classical theories. So, if interest increases or decreases due to the pressure of savings and investment, they come back to the favorable condition. It means it is flexible. It may increase or it may decrease. Okay, this is the classical theory of economists point of view, money market equilibrium. Now we will see labor market equilibrium, or it is called as wage cut policy. But this theory is being criticized. Even goods market equilibrium was also criticized. We will see those criticisms in the next part after completion of wage cut policy or labor market equilibrium. Okay, now let me explain you labor market equilibrium or wage cut policy. Here, demand of labor and supply of labor. We are going to discuss. So, wages have a positive relation on supply of labor and inverse relation with demand of labor. See how it is. Here we are showing the demand of labor. This is demand of labor and this is supply of labor. Demand for labor, supply of labor. Demand for labor is always inverse with the wages. Means wage increase, demand for labor decrease. Wage decrease, demand for labor increase. But supply of labor have a different relation. If wage increase, supply of labor increase. If wage decrease, supply of labor decrease. So supply of labor have a positive relation with wage. Demand for labor have a inverse relation with wage. Same here also we have seen. Investment have an inverse relation with the interest rate. Savings have a positive relation with the interest or interest rate. Now we are going to watch the same thing here. What classical economics says is, generally there is an equilibrium with demand for labor and supply of labor. There is an equilibrium. There the wage is going to be fixed. Now let us assume. It is an assumption of classical economics. And what the classical economics says, in case there is an unemployment in the market or due to the pressure of labor unions, trade unions, etc., etc., if wages increased, then what to be done? They say every firm will have a fixed wage fund that we have seen in the previous classes also. Wage fund. That wage fund is going to fix how many labor we have to appoint. We neither can increase the wage fund nor we want to decrease the wage fund. But with that wage fund, how many of our labor we could appoint, we will appoint. For example, the wage fund is 10,000 rupees. Wage fund is how much? 10,000 rupees. And average labor salary is, let's say, 2,000 rupees. average labor wages is 2000 rupees. In this case, we will appoint 5 labor. 5 labor. In case if the salary is increased due to any reason, trade unions pressure, labor unions pressure, strikes, any reason, if the salary of labor increases to, let us say, 3000 rupees, increase to 3000 rupees, then automatically labor has to decrease to 3 labor. If salary increases, labor decreases. So how to make all the labor who are available in the market can be provided the job? The question is how to employ all the labor in the market. For that, what he say? Wage cut policy. What it is? Wage cut policy. So simply what he says, instead of increasing the salaries, you decrease the salary. If you start paying only 1000 rupees per head, then 10 people can be appointed. 10 labor can be appointed. See, we cut the wage from 2000 to 1000. Then automatically, instead of 5, we can appoint 10 labor. That is wage cut policy. So this have a different relation here in the market. If you cut the wages, means if you decrease the wage to W1, from W to W1 you decrease the wages, so automatically supply of labor will decrease. See, salary decreased, supply of labor decreased. But the industries are ready to appoint more labor, demand for labor increases. Here this is, let us say, quantity. From Q to Q1, demand for labor increases because less salary, we decrease the salary, we cut the salary, automatically demand for labor increased from 5 to 10. See, from 5 to 10, demand for labor increased. But people are not ready to work for 1000 rupees. Then supply of labor decreases from Q to Q1. So in this way, it goes inverse and positive. See here, wage decreased, demand for labor increased, inverse relation. Wage decreased, supply of labor also decreased, positive relation. Otherwise, if we increase the salary from 2 to 3000, let us assume, okay, what happens? We can see that also. This is W2, wage 2. From 2000 it increased to 3000. Then automatically demand for labor decreased. It decreased to 3. Because inverse relation, wage increased, demand for labor decreased. From 5 we push it to 3. Because salary increased from 2000 to 3000. If salary increases, demand for labor decreases. If salary decreases, wages decreases, demand for labor increases. Wages decreased, demand for labor increased. Wages increased, demand for labor decreased. Okay, at the same time, when the salary increases, more people want to work in that firm. That you can see here. Salary, supply of labor increased. Wage increased from W to W2, like 2000 to 3000. Supply of labor increased from Q to Q2 to up to here. We can put the names like A and B. From Q to B, supply of labor increased. And demand Q to A, it decreased. So demand for labor have a inverse relation with wage. Supply of labor have a positive relation with wage. This is the classical economics theory. So this theory, labor market equilibrium or wage cut policy, has been proposed by A.C. Pigou. You will come across this name again and again. He is one of the popular economists. So here we will see particularly like after all this I like to repeat it again. Then we will go to the aspects and criticism. Okay, now we will see. So goods market equilibrium by J.B. Say, labor market equilibrium by A.C.P. Go, and money market equilibrium also proposed by one of the popular economists. According to them, there is no overproduction, there is no gluten, always supply creates its own demand, and money market equilibrium, that is savings almost total 100% turns to investment, and this savings depends on interest. That is the assumption of classical economists. Next we have seen labor market equilibrium, that is also called as wage cut policy. Under A.C.P. Go's opinions or assumptions, wage, there is a wage fund, fixed wage fund. By if the salaries are increased, then the labor, demand for labor will decrease, and if the wages decreases, demand for labor increases. Whenever we want to appoint more labor, you have to decrease the salaries. Then when the salaries are decreased, that is wage cut policy, then automatically more labor will be appointed, because salary decreases, demand for labor increases. So additional labor is also being appointed. This is the point of view of classical economists. That's why it is called as classical theory of employment. According to these classical economists, there is no unemployment. In general, all the people will be appointed in one or other line. Everyone will get employment. 4 factors of production. Now we will see the major aspects of classical theory. First one, free enterprise. Anyone can enter into the market. Perfect competition. I told you about the perfect competition already. Savings turning into investments. Already we had the discussion. And interest rate is flexible. Wage rate is flexible. We have seen. And open market expansion. Market can expand how much ever it wishes. Till the factors are unemployed, till all the factors are employed, we can go on expanding the market, we can go on increasing the production. Goods market equilibrium. There is no overproduction. Whatever being produced, it will create its own demand. Yesterday we had that discussion, and today also I given you a recap. And automatic adjustment. According to classical economists, government should not involve into the market. Due to the market forces, the price will be in balance by the market forces. Automatically it will come into the equilibrium. These are all the assumptions of or major aspects of classical theory of employment. Okay, under the classical theory of employment, these are the major aspects and assumptions and theories for full employment. Now we will see the criticism. How these theories have been criticized. We are going to watch now. First one, full employment. It never happens. Maybe in a short period full employment is possible, in a short period. But generally there is an unemployment. Okay. But according to the classical economists, always full employment. Sometimes unemployment. Whenever unemployment happens, we will increase the production. Then automatically the things will settle. Or we will go with wage cut policy. Again, the things will be balanced. So there won't be any unemployment of any factor of production. Okay, one. Next, wage cut. See, this full employment is fully criticized by the next oncoming one, particularly J.M. Keynes. According to J.M. Keynes, there is always unemployment. Only sometimes full employment happens. In general, there is unemployment. Okay, that's why we take Keynes neoclassical period or Keynesian period as a middle, and we say pre-Keynesian period and post-Keynesian period, that is modern times. Now, the second one, according to him, according to this classical economist, wage cut is realistic. We can cut the wage and we can appoint more labor. but it is not so. It's not at all so. It is being criticized by J.M. Keynes. If due to the labor unions and trade unions, if the salaries are increased, does they accept decreasing of the salaries from 2000 to 1000? No, they won't accept. Okay, wage fund is fixed 10,000 rupees and salaries, average labor wages from 2000, you have to increase but not decrease. If you decrease the salaries, then people won't accept that. That is not a practical thing. Next we will see savings turns to investment. We don't have any complaint, but savings depends on interest is a wrong concept, because savings does not arise from interest rates. Savings arise from income. If the income of the labor increases, then only savings increases. Instead of that, what he says, due to the interest rate, savings are increasing. No, due to interest, savings does not increase, but due to income, savings increase or decrease. If income increases, savings increases. Income decreases, savings decreases, but not related with interest. Okay, supply becomes equal to the demand. Supply creates its own demand is a wrong concept again. We have seen from 1929, actually started in 27 and gone to the peak in 29, and 1933 till that time there was a Great Depression. In that Great Depression we have seen supply is not going to create its own demand. Government should involve into the market issues. So plenty of their theories, plenty of their assumptions have broken like mirror. Then we started watching the truth. Okay, next, long run approach. What the classical economy says? In long run there is no unemployment, but J.M. Keynes says in long run all of us are dead. We should not talk about long run, but the economic problems are supposed to be solved in short run. In long run what happens, no one knows. We have seen that even in the market also. In very long run we don't know what is going to happen, but every economic problem is supposed to be solved in short period. Now here itself, if you go on postponing it, you never will get the conclusion. So it is not long run, but in short run we have to search for the solutions of economy. So in this way, all these classical theories we have discussed. This goods market equilibrium or supply creates its own demand plays an important role, sometimes for the 5 marks, and other things also for your own understanding you need to read and understand. Why? With this we can see how the evolution happened. Pre-Keynesian period and Keynesian period. You can see the differences. And you can see from Keynesian period to post-Keynesian period, that is modern time, what the things evoluted. How our economics is evoluting from one step to another step, one step to another step. Now we are in the modern period. We will have a discussion about neoclassical period, that is J.M. Keynes period 1936, tomorrow in the same class. Okay, good day students.